Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm here to talk about 3 episodes of Orphan Black. That is episode 404, titled From Instinct to Rational Control, which premiered Thursday, May 5th, 2016. And then there's episode 405, titled Human Raw Material, which premiered May 12th, 2016. And then episode 406, called The Scandal of Altruism, which premiered Thursday, May 19, 2016 on Space and BBC America. So, guys, first off, quality of my voice, so sorry if it's off. I'm fighting off a cold right now, but hopefully I can still get through this video. So 3 episodes, so let's see if I can do it in 25 minutes this time, and let's begin. Alright, so something new that we learned in these 3 episodes. So basically, I'm going to divide it up into 3, and then every other section is going to be a mix of all 3. So first off, what happened in episode 404? So basically for Sarah, she tries to find MK. She ends up doing that. Sorry, hold on. Pretty much for Sarah is that she finds out that MK is actually named Vera, one of the Helsinki survivors who was dead set on getting her revenge on Ferdinand, who was behind Helsinki. So there's that. Also, Sarah actually tells Dizzy, MK's contact, that about clones, stating that 22 are known and 9 are actually alive. So there's that. With Cosima, she and Scott get Dr. Leakey's head, and they now take the implant out of it and try to figure out what it does. And they come to the conclusion that it's altering the DNA. So for Sarah, they now fear that this implant in her cheek is altering her DNA somehow. So for Allison, she actually gets mistaken as Beth by Trina, who was the formerly pregnant illusionist that Beth had interrogated in the flashbacks. So with this, Trina lets it slip about a fertility clinic that she went to. So that gets Allison to do a little bit of undercover work without actually going undercover. So because of the fact that she is a clone with a recognizable face. So that leaves us with Donnie and Felix helping her out with that. But we also see some of Allison's insecurities and her own feelings about her past failed pregnancy attempts. We actually see that come to the forefront in that episode. And for Helena, she actually learns from Donnie about Allison's discomfort on the whole pregnancy situation, that Helena is kind of flaunting around the house. Because of that, though, she decides to leave, and she leaves her canister of frozen embryos buried in the backyard of the Hendricks household. So there's that. For Rachel, she's showing concern over little Charlotte, who has now been sick for 3 weeks, and she's consulting with Ira about that. She's also getting tested by Susan Duncan on how she would proceed with things, whether to intervene and give Charlotte treatments of some kind to help her out, or to let it go and just see how this illness progresses in Charlotte for research purposes. Rachel picked the research purposes. So for MK, like I mentioned before, we find out that her name is actually Vera. She's one of the Helsinki survivors. She lost her friend Nikki, who I believe is the blonde clone that we always see pictures of with her, in that fire, and she actually has some burn scars on her face. MK, that is. So there's that. And she actually manages to steal roughly $3 million from Ferdinand before she walks off. So with Felix, like I mentioned before, he goes undercover with Donnie at the fertility clinic, posing as a couple. And they actually discover a program called Brightborn, which is what they've discovered being possibly another branch of the Illusion Network. Also with Mrs. S, she's meant to keep an eye on Ferdinand. Obviously, she fails at that, but she ends up disabling a bomb to save him. One that was put together by MK. So moving on to episode 405, I call this the Brightborn investigation. So with Sarah, she actually spends the day with Kira, and it's not a day full of drawing wall paintings, as she suspects that Adele is not really Felix's sister. She actually gets Scott to do a DNA test between Felix and Adele, but he actually confirms that they are related. So that is quite a shock for Sarah. She doesn't really handle it well, and you actually see Kira stepping up in that moment and try to comfort her mom for that. Also for Cosima, we see her going undercover at Brightborn this time as Donnie surrogate. And Cosima actually meets Susan Duncan. And she also sees more of a gruesome layers to this Brightborn program of theirs, including a few mutated babies. It's not, I wouldn't say mutated, it's just that it's only mutated in the sense that the child that was being born has so many different illnesses all stacked into one baby, when usually you'd see them solely isolated in one case. So it's kind of like, say you have like 3 different illnesses from 3 separate babies and they're all separate. You would never see any of them interconnecting with any of them, and yet you get this one baby that shows all 3 of them. That's kind of what I would say would be the mutated, because it's their gene tempering that led them to that mutation. So we see that in a very upfront way. So for Allison, we see her getting into an argument with Sarah, not only for her drug ring that she did behind Bubbles last season, but also for the fact that Helena is missing. And with that said, Helena's not shown, Rachel's not shown, and MK's not shown in this episode, which moves on to another clone that we get to see again, and that is Crystal Godrich that we get to see. So with Crystal, we see that she's been taking up self-defense classes. We also see that she's come to her own theory about how everything's connected. Dyad, Leaky, her old boyfriend Hector, her encounter with the Castor clones. She has everything connected perfectly, yet she just has the wrong conspiracy theory behind it. She thinks it's some part of new technology for cosmetics that's behind all this espionage stuff, when instead it's cloning. So there's that. Crystal actually tries to get her way into Brightborn, which kind of almost messes up our Clone Club's own investigation in the place. Quite fun with the mistaken identities, though. Everyone, part of Brightborn is trying to get Cosima, but they keep mistaking her as Crystal instead. So Crystal's kind of like the unintended decoy, I guess you could say, which is kind of funny as well. Alright, then you have Donnie, who's also at the Brightborn clinic, and he not only tries to he's trying to help Cosima infiltrate herself in, but he also spots Crystal first, and he's the one that figures out just how much Crystal knows, or how close she is to the nose of everything, and he actually hears Delphine's name from Crystal, so that kind of causes a high alert, and that doesn't really get a good reaction on his part. So there's that. For Felix, though, mentioned before with Adele, and Sarah, issues there. He actually sees Kira again after her little trip to up north, so he sees her again. Awkward family dinner, I guess you can say, with Adele and Sarah being at odds, and Felix still not really on good terms with Sarah. And we got Mrs. S trying to mediate that family dinner. So there's that. Also with Kira, she actually tells Sarah that she can feel the other clones. It's not, instead of the dreams that they think she's been having, it's more of a feeling from her that she gets some kind of connection from the other clones. Like she says for Cosima, she feels her sadness. With Rachel, she feels her anger. Helena, she feels her loneliness. And then there's one other unknown clone that she's connected to. So we get a bit of a sense of what Kira's going through, but not exactly what it is. It's definitely not dreams. It's not as simple as that. It's basically, Also with Art, he learns from the fake detective Mark about the drug ring that Allison was running behind Bubbles. He doesn't tell Sarah about it, who then confronts Allison about it. That's what was mentioned earlier. So that bombshell he wasn't prepared for. And then also with Caster clone Ira, we find out that he's actually Susan Duncan's lover. Not only did she raise him like a son, but now she's sleeping with him. Fun times right there. Awesome. What is it with Caster clones and having these mommy issues? I mean, wasn't there something going on with Rudy and his pseudo mom? Was it Dr. Virginia or I forget her name already? It's like, wow. So there's that. Okay, moving on to episode 406. So basically, a lot happened in this episode. So for Sarah, she actually strikes a deal with Susan Duncan. Basically, the way she wants it is that they'll give her Kendall Malone's Lita genome in exchange for getting the implant out of Sarah's cheek. Apparently, the implant it does whatever it's programmed to do. So for Sarah, it was programmed to make her sick, and they're trying to figure out what part of her is keeping her healthy, in a sense. So that's what they were trying to get from her. But the reason why they could only give Kendall's Lita genome is because the fact she does have leukemia. So they were going to use the cancer cells to kind of figure out try to distinguish which of her cells were from Lita, which one are from Caster. So that's how they spun the cancer cells into their favor. So Cosima, she actually assists with Sarah's implant removal surgery, and then she oversees the data transfer of everything pertaining to Kendall Malone's DNA to Evie Cho. However, her research back at the lab with Scott is destroyed by a Trojan virus, and she is actually taken by Evie Cho and the fake detective Mark, and Cosima is forced to witness the murder of Kendall Malone by fake detective Mark. And then shortly after her death, Evie Cho tells Cosima that Delphine was shot dead in a parking garage. So it was like double whammy of death right there for her. Sorry. Allison is not seen, Helena's not seen, Rachel is not seen, and MK is not seen in this episode. We do see Crystal again. This time she goes to the police for request of protective custody, because she thinks that the a high-tech cosmetic company she thinks she's on point in exposing their new technology. She thinks they're coming after her. Instead, Art intercepts that case, and he brings her back to his place where Felix meets up with them to kind of get her to back off of investigating this further. However, we do find out that Crystal actually witnessed Delphine getting shot and killed in the parking garage. She said, and I quote, "I saw everything." So that was surprising. Also, we see Beth again in flashbacks. And this time we actually see Beth infiltrating the Brightborn clinic with the blonde wig. We see her confront Susan Duncan with the intention to kill her, only to realize that Evie Cho was setting her up to kill Susan Duncan. We see Beth repeatedly hitting Evie Cho before going back home. And then we see her final moments before she kills herself replayed again, her MK coming by. We see all of that happening. So the blood that was on her hands is from punching Evie Cho repeatedly. So there's that. Also, Evie put the thought in Beth's head to save everybody. She should just kill herself, because Beth knows too much. So I guess that's the motivation behind why she jumped in front of a train and committed suicide, was because she wanted to save everybody from being killed off by this new Legion group. So it's actually, Beth's story is actually completely filled now, timeline-wise. It is. like I mentioned before with Felix, he is brought in to deal with Crystal, with Mrs. S. She actually finds out in this episode about Kendall's cancer, before finding out later that she was killed. So Mrs. S really takes the news hard about that. And also, caster clone Ira, we find out that it's been 2 months since he has last glitched. We see him overdosing in a bathtub just because Susan Duncan agreed to Sarah's deal, which meant that they weren't going to get the caster genome from Kendall Malone, which is what he needed to find a way to stop glitching. But Sarah finds Ira in the tub and calls 911, so now he's recovering at the hospital. So there's that. Also, big thing in this episode was that Evie Cho has wanted Susan Duncan out of the picture. Susan has been more focused on the clone project, while as Evie Cho wants the whole genetic breakthrough that they've been making to benefit herself in that sense. So Evie Cho has kind of been the big bad underneath the big bad, or the underlying big bad that we thought wasn't a big bad. I don't know. It's very major stuff. But anyways, moving on. What was the most shocking moment of these 3 episodes? 404, big shocker was that MK is a Helsinki survivor named Vera. Was not expecting that at all. Second, for episode 405, it was seeing that that baby being born. It wasn't the labor itself that was shocking. It was the state the baby came out as. I mean, with Brightborn and all their talk of perfect genetics and all that, you're expecting to see a perfect baby come out, and instead you get the complete opposite. You get one that was, you can see has had their DNA manipulated on so many different levels, and now it's suffering because of that. So it definitely proves why germline germline splicing, I think it's what Cosima called it, is not allowed at all. Alright, moving on. Most shocking moment for 406 was the death of Kendall Malone. Was not expecting that at all. The complete shocker right there. Hold on. Alright, so let's move on to top 3 favorite moments. Again, 3 episodes, so this time I'm just going to do a top moment for each episode. So for 404, my favorite moment has to be Donnie and Felix going undercover as a couple. It was just funny to see them try to pull that off, and then to have Felix coaching Donnie. It was hilarious. But it was great to see them finally sharing a scene together. I don't think we've had many of those. Next favorite moment has to be for 405, and that is Crystal beating Donnie up when she's pretty much naked. That was like genius. It's like, it really shows not only her self-defense training, but it just shows how much of a quick thinker she is to react and defend herself. So that's pretty funny. And for episode 406, favorite scene has to be when Crystal does it again, but at Felix in Art's apartment, when Felix was trying to calm her down and trying to explain that everything was all right. She immediately reacts by attacking him with, I think it was either pepper spray or hairspray, and his reaction to it was so, I felt so bad for Felix, and it was so funny to see it happen. It was just like, really? It's like, it was fun. It was for sure. It was definitely, it brought humor to a very dark situation for our characters. Moving on though, top 3 peeve moments. 404 is the fact that Helena leaves. Don't know where she's gonna go. Don't know how when she's gonna come back, or if she's gonna cause some trouble somewhere else or something. I don't know. But I don't like that she left. Just because, yeah, the way she left is just weird. Anyways, 405, I did not like the fact that Felix brought Adele to the safe house. He made a promise that she'd keep her out of all this, and yet he brings her to the safe house. I mean, yeah, you might trust her, but no one else in the family knows her, so there you have no reason to trust her. So it's a really poor decision on Felix's part. Another peed moment for 406 was the fact that Kendall Malone was killed. Though I did like the very sweet moment before that happened between Kendall and Cosima, and how Kendall told Cosima that she's very proud that she's a part, that the Leah clones are a part of her, and that she got to be a part of everything. So while I like that goodbye, I don't like the fact that she died. It seems like we just got her, so there's that. What will I remember most when I look back on these 3 episodes? 404 is the fact that MK tried to kill Ferdinand. She did steal roughly $3 million from him, though. 405 is the surprising birth of the Brightborn babies and how they're not so perfect as they advertised. And for 406, Kendall Malone's death. Definite reminder there. Whoa, okay. Moving on, random questions. I got a few for each episode, but I thought of this one for 404, and that is, whatever happened to Marion Bowles? She was last seen in episode 210, when she introduced the character of Fruity to Sarah in the finales, so we haven't seen her since, and wondering what happened to her. We definitely know that she was the one that cared for Charlotte, and yet Charlotte is now under the care of Susan Duncan, so you gotta, makes you wonder what happened there. For 405, I had the question of, how much of a connection does Kira have with the clones? Is it just one emotion that she feels strongly with each clone, or is it just that's the only one that seems to pop up whenever that clone is thought of? And also we got to figure out why she has this connection to the clones as well. And next question for episode 406. Did Cosima back up her research anywhere else, or was the lab the only other place? I really hope she backed everything up, because it's going to really suck when everything they've worked for in the last 4 seasons is up in smoke, pretty much. Next question. Who killed Delphine? I really think that it has to be someone that Delphine knew, or she knew was attached to the clone project. I don't think it was just some random that killed her, because her last words to them was asking whether Cosima would be safe or not, I believe. So there's that mystery right there. I'm surprised we still haven't touched upon it. We just now got confirmation that Delphine was killed. So there's that. And the last question. How much longer before Crystal is brought into the clone club? I mean, Felix already gave her a clone phone. So how much longer will she be brought in? Or she's just going to be on the edge of knowing yet not knowing? Because at least Tony knows. Or he doesn't know, like, the whole conspiracy behind it, but he knows that there's at least a twin of him or a clone of him out there. He doesn't know that there's a whole bunch of them. He just knows that there's someone also out there with his face. Crystal doesn't know that. So I'm wondering if she's going to find out, or how long until she does. Would it be safer for her to know that? Or is it really safer to keep her out of it and then risk her still looking into everything because she needs to know? Hopefully we'll find out about that sooner or later. Moving on to predictions, though, very quickly. So based off the promo for 407, it looks like there's some intense party scenes going on, featuring Sarah, of course. It looks like Cosima is getting sicker, and Allison seems to be falling apart. And it looks like Susan Duncan has returned to Rachel on that island. So maybe Sarah is reacting to Kendall's death. Maybe she's reacting to the fact that Felix does have a sister in Adele. Maybe she's reacting to something else, but it seems that she might be reverting back to old ways. So there's that. Based off the sneak peek that was revealed after the after show After the Black that Space provides, it looks like Rachel climbs some stairs and finds a window, which shows that she's along the shoreline with some snow. So she may be on some kind of island. So we'll have to have a look about that. But predictions overall, they have to definitely deal with the fact that not only is Kendall Malone gone, but there goes the original genome. All of Cosima's research seems to be gone. Don't know if she has any backup, so they really have to figure out what's their next step. At least Sarah doesn't have that implant in her face anymore, so at least she's safe on that point. Unless it did some residual changes to her that they aren't aware of. They gotta find Helena somehow. What else? Are they gonna find Rachel? Are they gonna want to find Rachel? Is Susan Duncan on their side now that they know that Evie Cho is the real enemy? I guess we're gonna have to find out, and there's the timer. And that's all I have to say. So what do you guys think of these 3 episodes? What do you like about it? What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it, as well as your own thoughts, theories, and predictions about what's to come. We actually only have 4 episodes left of the season. I'm surprised by that, actually. But yeah, also if you want to check out my Tumblr page, the links for the 3 episodes are down below. Usually reblog promos, sneak peeks, synopses, clips, quotes, gifs, all of that. I'm definitely behind on Tumblr, but eventually it'll all be updated, and you can find them at the links below. So check that out and follow me there if you want to be alerted of when I post, but check it out there. And that's about it. So thank you guys for tuning in. I truly appreciate it. Hope you come back next week to see what I have to say about the next episode. Hopefully my voice is a little better by then. But until then, this is Mel wishing you a great day, great week, wherever you are. Bye for now.